Okay, is this on? I just turned on the Zoom function and I am waiting for others to join up. It is exactly 8 p.m. Central Time, so I expect others to show up any minute now. I just hope some people didn't get confused by the time differences.
Hello. Is this the place for the ex-religious meeting?
Yes, it is. You appear to be the first person beside myself to show up. I guess we won't get that many people.
Hey, I'm here too.
Ah, now I see more than a dozen pics popping up. Good, we can all proceed. Let us start with introductions. I am Dale Husband, known across the internet as the Honorable Skeptic, and I am the organizer and moderator of this special Zoom group which is devoted to people that have previously been members of a religion and have since left it. I was originally a Southern Baptist and later became a member of the Baha'i faith and ultimately left it to reject all God-centered religions. I am now a Unitarian Universalist and consider myself atheist. Mrs. Sandy Smith, since you popped up first, please proceed with your introduction.
Thank you. I am the currently serving mayor of a small town in East Texas I and my children have been living in since we moved here about 15 years ago. I was born in Oklahoma City and my parents were Christians, more specifically mainline Protestants, often attending Methodist or Episcopal churches. As I grew up, I found myself questioning my religion, especially after noticing how hypocritical many of my relatives seemed to be. And eventually my own readings of the Bible made me conclude its stories were just a form of mythology, no better than those of other ancient peoples like the Greeks and the Babylonians. So I became atheist. Then as an adult, I met Rich Smith, who would become my first husband, and I learned he had also become atheist as a teen, so we could relate to each other. Shortly before we married, we came out as atheists to our families. And to my dismay, most of them turned against us, calling me and Rich traitors to God and our families. We were isolated from the very people we thought loved us. Things got even worse when Rich and I later divorced, and so I took our 2 children with me to live in the town I'm at now. I wanted to start a new life, and for several years my children and I lived quietly, minding our own business. But when my daughter Debbie was 13, she and her best friend Carrie, who like Debbie was an atheist, found themselves subjected to attempts by their English teacher to indoctrinate them with Christian values, which included a dose of homophobia. Since Debbie was lesbian too and Carrie had lesbian mothers, they felt violated by the teacher, and so they fought back at the discrimination. And they won.
Okay, I am seeing several of you wanting to speak next, so Lucy Sims, it is your turn.
Thank you. I was born in Boston and I was raised in a family of Jehovah's Witnesses. My father disappeared when I was 8, and I later learned after he left us that it was because he rejected the cult. Then when I was a teen I realized that I was a lesbian. My mother tried hard to force me to like boys, but it was pointless. I couldn't make myself fall in love with a boy, so finally she and my sister drove me out of our home. For nearly a year I struggled to make a living, until I met Jessica Sims, who would later become my wife, and she gave me the stability and love I needed to move on and make my life better. We then had our daughter Carrie, and then when Carrie was 12 we bought a house in the same town Sandy lives in and have been living there since.
Okay, thanks. The one in the yellow blouse that looks Hispanic, your turn.
Me? Okay, but I am actually a Native American. My name is Carla Jenkins, and I am the English teacher Sandy spoke of earlier. Ironically, my attempt to convert Debbie and Carrie to Christianity resulted in me eventually becoming atheist like them after Sandy showed me how messed up the Bible could be. And I actually became a better person after my deconversion.
Thanks. Now the Asian girl in pink, what's your story?
My name is Laura Park, and I grew up in the same town that Mrs. Smith, Mrs. Sims, and Miss Jenkins come from, and I was even a member of Miss Jenkins Baptist Church. When I was 14 I came out as a lesbian, and that tore my parents apart, because my father rejected me and my mother took my side, so they divorced. My mother and I later left the town so I could start a career in Hollywood as an actress.
So, Miss Park, like Lucy Sims you had to leave your original religion because of you being lesbian, right?
Well, I didn't so much leave my religion as the church I was a member of left my religion. Which blew my mind at the time, but it turned out for the best. I remember when my wife Jessica, Sandy, and our daughters went to the church to speak directly to the people there. We simply told the truth. About the Bible, about how we saw Christianity and God, and about ourselves. And we expected to get thrown out on our asses for our trouble. So they vote instead to change the religious allegiance of the church itself. Was one hell of a shock. There were people who came to me after that incident, and they would say things like, "You and your children are such lovely people. It never occurred to us that you had valid reasons to be atheist. We assumed you were just hating God, and we couldn't understand why. Now we do."
Hating God? More like hating liars who claim to speak for God. If people would stop confusing their bigoted opinions with the so-called Word of God, most of the crap we see in religion wouldn't be an issue. I see more people want to speak. The middle-aged couple, are you both Hispanics?
Oh, us? I'm white and my wife is Persian. We are Daniel and Maria Hudson.
Oh, awesome. So when is your band coming back to Texas?
We will discuss that later.
Can we just stay on topic?
Yeah, let's talk about your former religions.
Like Sandy Smith, I was raised in a mainline Protestant faith, Lutheran to be more precise. I quit my religion for much the same reasons she did. Plus, as a scientist, I have to deal with reality in my work, and there is no place for religious beliefs there, so why bother having them in my personal life?
And as for me, I came from Iran and was originally a Baha'i. As an adult, I realized the current leadership of the so-called Baha'i faith was illegitimate, not based on the actual teachings of Baha'u'llah, the founder of the faith, at all. When I tried to convince others of what I knew, I was cast out as a heretic. Daniel then converted me to atheism before we got married. All three of our children were raised as atheists. We all are members of a Unitarian Universalist church in Los Angeles.
And I am connected with them because their daughter Suzanne is my love partner.
Okay, so who is next? The freckled girl in green, what's your story?
My name is Penny Bentley, and I live in the same town as Mrs. Smith, the mayor, and Mrs. Lucy Sims. I was raised Catholic and have recently left the Catholic Church after deciding its teachings and practices just don't make sense. I now consider myself agnostic.
Likewise, my wife Bella and I were also raised in the Catholic Church, and we were even married in the church, but after hearing from Penny, we also decided to quit. Bella and I are currently attending the Unitarian Universalist Church in the town, but we are not yet members.
Plus, I work as a waitress and manager under Lucy Sims at her restaurant. Eric and I haven't decided what our religion should be yet. We are still exploring our options.
And who else hasn't been heard from? The old black man, it's your turn.
My name is Daniel Gordon and I live in Nashville. I am the father of Lucy Sims. When I was a child, my mother and I were converted to the Jehovah's Witness cult, but as an adult I left it and in the process lost my wife and 2 daughters, and I only recently reconnected with Lucy and got to know her own 2 daughters, Carrie and Vicky. I am a convert to Judaism.
Grandfather, is that really you? I'd love to meet you sometime. And who are you? Oh, sorry. I am Scott Miller, the son of Victoria Miller, one of Daniel Gordon's daughters. Lucy Sims is my aunt. I live in Los Angeles, and I am another ex-Jehovah's Witness. For now, I keep my deconversion a secret from my parents. Thank you. I see one more waving her hand to speak. The girl in red, what's your story?
My name is Whitney Owen, and I live in the same town in Texas many of the others do. I was originally Baptist, and was even the granddaughter of Reverend Dave Owen, who was pastor of the church in the town that later became Unitarian Universalist. I am now atheist.
Thank you. I think that is everyone now.
Excuse me, am I connected now? Is this the ex-religious discussion group?
Yes, it is. And you are late. When I say come in at 8 p.m., I mean that and not later.
Dale, don't be rude. That's my sister-in-law, Tara Sims. And why do you appear to be in a hospital room? What happened?
I'm sorry. My daughter Helen and I were crossing the street together when we were struck by a speeding car. I was able to shield Helen with my body, so she wasn't badly hurt, but my left leg was shattered. The driver that hit us was running from the police and is now in jail.
My apologies, then. So can you tell us your story? Tara?
I was born in Texas, in a town about 100 miles from that of Lucy Sims. I was raised Catholic, but as a teen I went through a rebellious phase so severe I was jailed a couple of times and finally left home, because my father was abusive to me. I blamed my parents being Catholic for their attitude, and that led me to seek alternatives. I decided to become pagan, completely rejecting any form of Christianity, and then joined the Unitarian Universalists after seeing how they included pagans in their membership. That's how Lucy and I got together, as fellow UUs. I eventually moved to Boston and then married Jonathan Sims. He was raised atheist, but we both consider ourselves pagan UUs now.
I am curious. Why would anyone of Christian background become pagan? I became Jewish because at least I could still believe in the same God that Christians do and not have to deal with the nonsense associated with so much of Christianity. Judaism is the original faith that the other monotheist religions are descended from.
My grandfather taught me and others that Jews were indeed the chosen people of God until 33 AD, but that ended when they rejected Jesus as their Messiah, and so the Christians became the true believers and Jews became infidels.
That's impossible. The Messiah was supposed to be a conquering king, like that of his ancestor David. Jesus being a wandering rabbi who was condemned for blasphemy and then crucified met none of those requirements clearly spelled out by the prophets among the Jews. So the Messiah has not come yet, though with Israel being established in the Jews' ancestral homeland, that may set the stage for the Messiah to finally come.
With all due respect, sir, I cannot accept a state that can only exist by displacing and discriminating against another people, like the Palestinians. Look who's talking. You appear to be white, so unless you are a Native American like me, that's exactly what your white ancestors did to mine. To this day, we suffer from the consequences of past aggressions.
As do African Americans. Like you, father. Aren't most Jews white? As both a black person and a Jew, you are a minority here in the USA. Even in Israel, you'd still be part of a minority. And I myself am black, a woman, a lesbian and an atheist. So I have 4 reasons to feel marginalized. But as a Unitarian Universalist, I believe in the inherent worth and dignity of all people, period. I must therefore insist on being equal with all others.
And I am white, male, of Protestant background, straight, and cisgender, so I am extremely privileged. But my being a Baha'i in the past and atheist now also enables me to understand what being part of a minority is like. Plus, I am of a working class background. And workers everywhere should be fighting for their rights, regardless of their race, religion, gender or sexuality. And yet so many impoverished idiots side with their own rich oppressors. Because those oppressors are white or Christian like them. It's so stupid.
Dale, it's because many Americans still believe in the idea of social mobility, that if you work hard enough, you may someday become highly successful and rich yourself.
Ha 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 ha. Well, that has never happened to me, so I have no reason to believe in that concept. Why am I not rich yet? The system is rigged so that hard work only makes rich people richer. Not me. Capitalism 101.
Dale, just because it has not happened to you doesn't mean it can't happen to anyone. That's a fallacy. My second husband Steve came from a working class background and he became rich. When he was 20 he won $50,000 by playing the lottery and he invested all that money while continuing to work for a living. Today he is worth over $200 million and no longer has to work for a living.
But doesn't that prove my point? Steve made most of his fortune through investments, and when you profit from investments in corporations, that extra money comes from the blood, sweat and tears of workers. Steve got rich off the work of others, not his own hard work. How can that be justified?
Steve uses his wealth to help others. For example, my daughter worked for a modeling agency in Dallas, but she felt mistreated there. When she complained about the matter, she was fired. In response, Steve bought out that agency, rehired Debbie, and then they reformed the agency to treat its models better. As a result of the modeling agency's good reputation, it is now more profitable than ever.
Steve also gave me money so I could install a security system at my restaurant. As a result, I was able to prevent the restaurant being destroyed by arson later. For those reasons, Sandy and I both consider Steve to be a hero.
Very well, I concede to your points. Not all rich people are scumbags. Just the overwhelming majority.
Hello, is this the ex-religious discussion group?
Yes. And you are?
Jack Watson. I live in Tulsa. I was raised in a Christian family.
Jack manages a nightclub that is owned by Steve. And its previous owner was my first husband, Rich Smith. Like Steve, Rich made a lot of money with investments. And so do I now.
Mrs. Smith, didn't you and Steve just get divorced? That's what I heard yesterday at the restaurant.
Bella, don't be rude.
Yeah, that's really not anyone else's business.
It's okay, yes. Steve and I did decide to end our marriage because of my being mayor of this town, and thus I was no longer living with him in Tulsa. We are both moving on with our lives, and that's just how it is. Dale, I've been reading your blog and I am curious about this concept you invented called spiritual orientation. Can you explain it to us?
Sure, it's really based on my understanding of Unitarian Universalist ideals. Just as different people may have various sexual orientations, so likewise they may have different spiritual orientations. In both cases, it is not a matter of choice. Most people have a neutral spiritual orientation and they uncritically accept and follow whatever religion their parents believe in, but otherwise are apathetic about religion. But if a person does have a spiritual orientation and it is different from the religion of their parents, they may feel discomfort in their parents' faith, and so they eventually leave it to find another. Or none at all, perhaps. In my case, my spiritual orientation is humanist. I cannot believe in any God-centered religion, and so I am atheist. I think most of us have that same orientation, but someone like Mr. Gordon has a Jewish spiritual orientation, while Tara Sims would have a pagan one.
I'm not really sure I can agree with your assumptions, but I can respect your opinion.
Anyway, back to Jack Watson. You said you were raised in a Christian family. So what happened?
Well, my mother dying of cancer caused me to lose what little faith I had, but before that, my grandmother was a huge fan of Oral Roberts and sent his ministry over $10,000. Money that could have been used to later treat my mother's cancer. Damn that Oral Roberts. Even as a teen, I knew he was a fraud, but my grandmother wouldn't listen to us. I hope there's a hell for him to burn in now that he is dead.
Wow, tell us how you really feel. Well, it is almost 9 p.m. and so it is time for us to end this discussion and shut down the Zoom app. Thanks to everyone for coming to attend this event.
It was good seeing you again, Dale.
Same. Good night to everyone.
Hold on. I was wanting to get grandfather's number so he and I could talk later.
Scott, I will send you a text message with his number after I get off this group.
And with that, I bid you all farewell.
What? Tara and Helen were almost killed by a speeding car? Why didn't Jonathan call us and let us know about it?
I guess you will have to ask him that. Maybe he felt he could handle it himself.
He's my twin, damn it. He certainly should have told me about this directly, instead of us finding out because of an internet group discussion. Jonathan, Lucy just told me about what happened to Tara and Helen. Why didn't you call me to tell me yourself?
I'm sorry. I've been busy watching over Helen. She only suffered from some bruises, but she was still terrified about being hit by the car, so I brought her home from the hospital and I'm letting her sleep in our bed. Yes honey, it's your Aunt Jessica. You want to talk to her? Okay.
Hi, Aunt Jessie.
Oh, Helen. You are already talking. You've grown so much, haven't you? Are you all right?
I'm okay. Daddy is taking care of me and Mommy is in hospital. She hurt so much. But she saved me. Bad man hit us with his car. I don't know why. I want my mommy.
Your mommy will be with you soon, Helen. She just needs time to heal. Would you like to see me, Aunt Jessica, again?
Yes, please.
Okay, honey, I will be with you soon. To give you lots of hugs. Jonathan always took pride in being self-reliant, but in this case I think he needs all the help he can get. And
That's my phone. It's Penny. Hello?
Mrs. Sims. Have you talked to Tara, your sister-in-law, since that discussion group we were in earlier?
No, but Jessica just talked to her brother and her niece. Now she is planning to go to Boston to see them.
I have a favor to ask of Jessica. May I speak to her?
Sure.
this is Jessica. What do you want, Penny?
I'm probably way out of line for even making this request, but I want to go to Boston with you. I know James is staying with your brother's family while he attends Harvard. But I need to see him again. I miss him so much I want to cry every night. The longer I am without him, the more I realize just how much he means to me. I am willing to pay for my share of the flight up there. Just let us go together, please.
Lucy, Penny wants to go to Boston to see James again. But she is your chief cook. What do you think? Lucy agrees. As long as you pay for your flight and your food. You and I can even share a motel room.
Thank you. I promise I will be no trouble.
I'd better not regret that. But I can only imagine how it would feel if the two of us were forced apart for a long time. I don't think I can stand that. I love you.
Thanks for bringing me with you. I feel like I owe you my life.
You can repay me and Jonathan by helping around his and Tara's house. Tara is a housewife and doing household chores is practically a full-time job, especially when children are involved. And I think Helen could use a babysitter while James is at college and Jonathan is at work. It never hurts to have an extra pair of hands to lighten the load.
As you wish, Mrs. Sims.
Jessica and Penny have arrived at Boston. Greeting them at the airport are Jonathan and Helen.
Aunt Jessie, you came. Oi. My bruises still are sore. Hey, who is this? My name is Penny. I am a friend of your aunt. Oh, a new girl I can play with. Okay, so where is James?
He is attending classes, but should be home in a few hours.
Penny, you promised you would help around the house. Let's get started on that now. Sorry to drag you in here, but I want us both to keep busy so you won't dwell on James and I don't have to think about missing Lucy.
I am really amazed at how attached you and Lucy are to each other. You don't seem to have that much in common.
And what do you have in common with James? As long as you treat each other right, you can have all sorts of differences and learn to tolerate them. Lucy has told me that she was never truly loved by her mother or sister the way I have. I just treat her with the kind of love and respect I always wanted for myself. And she returns them 100%.
You think James will do the same for me?
He'd better. Or you won't be the only person he has to worry about offending. His mother didn't raise him to be an asshole, that's for sure.
Aunt Jessie, Penny, can one of you play with me? Please? Sure, I will play with you. What would you like to do? James, you're here at last. Oh, you're so cute together. She is your love, James?
She certainly is. Now if you will excuse us, we need to have dinner together. I am so thankful you came here to be with me. Now I know just how devoted you are to me. And I know we will be married in a few years.
I thought I could be strong without you, but I was wrong. You complete me, James. I will be counting the days until our wedding. But does it really have to be in 4 years? Your sister got married while she was in high school. Why can't we get married this summer? And do you have to stay at Harvard? Why not attend a university in Texas?
My scholarship is only for Harvard. If I transfer to another university, I'd have to pay for the college courses myself, and then I'd be in debt for decades to come. I've heard too many horror stories about being trapped in 5 or 6 figures of debt. I won't risk that. But yes, I will marry you when this summer comes. We will both be 18 then, so we won't need our parents' permission. We can have that elopement you wanted. While James and Penny are eating at the local diner, Jonathan and Helen go visit Tara at the hospital.
The doctors say I may be released from here tomorrow, but it will still be months before I regain my mobility. So how will the household chores be done?
I don't mind doing them all for a while. I did plenty of my own chores when I had an apartment in Rhode Island.
Mommy, may I hug you?
Sure, honey.
So how are things going with Penny?
Quite well, actually. I took her into the kitchen and she did everything with me that I asked her to, without question. Tomorrow I plan to have her help clean up the rest of the house so that it is spick and span when Tara is released. So how is the restaurant?
Well, I had to take over some of the cooking to make up for Penny's absence. And honestly, I wish you were the head cook. You were always better at cooking than me.
Are you sure you wouldn't get sick of me being around you 24/7?
Never. If that was an issue, I wouldn't have wanted to work with you to begin with. The longer we are together, the better it feels. Even now, I want you back in my arms.
It's like we have separate bodies, but the same heart. I miss you like crazy too.
Then let me send you this pic of me.
That's cute. I will make that my cell phone's new wallpaper.
I have a question. Since you have already pledged to marry me this coming summer, do you want us to have a baby soon too?
Like, how soon?
About 9 months from now. I know I said I didn't want to have a baby out of wedlock, but becoming pregnant out of wedlock doesn't scare me so much now that I know we will eventually tie the knot before the baby is born. I look at your sister and see how happy motherhood makes her. I want that too.
No. That's taking things a step too far. And you know darn well your grandmother and uncle would kill me if we did something that reckless. So let's just compromise and have the marriage without your pregnancy, okay? I have an idea.
Hello?
Debbie, right now Penny is here with me in Boston and she told me she looks up to you because you are a wife and a mother, and she wants that same thing for herself. So she and I will be getting married next summer. But would you agree to let Penny babysit Richard as often as possible so she will know what being a mother is all about? I think she needs to learn about it before she has a baby of her own.
That's actually a great idea. It never hurts to have one more pair of hands available to care for Richard when Carrie and I go out together. Let me talk to Penny about that.
This is Penny.
So, are you willing to become Richard's primary babysitter? I can pay you for the work. You'd be caring for him once or twice every week.
Sure, I'd love to do that. When can I start?
Next week, I guess. See you when you return from Boston. So, is that okay with you, Carrie? I don't care who takes care of Richard as long as they treat him right. I think it's your turn to deal with him. Please? Of course. I just know how much you hate stinky diapers.
As Tara is being prepared to be released from the hospital, Jessica and Penny work hard over several hours in the morning to make the Sims Boston home perfect for Tara's arrival.
That does it for the bathroom. Next we will vacuum all the carpeted rooms and dust off the furniture in the bedrooms and the living room. Penny, you have been awesome both this morning and yesterday. Your grandmother would be proud of you.
I said I would help you and I meant it. Let's get this over with so we can all relax together. Wow, this house looks spotless. You and the others didn't have to do all this just for me. Yes, we did, Mommy. We love you, so we help you.
Jessica and Penny did most of the work. Without them, this house would still be a mess. Helen, I need you to help keep the house clean even after Aunt Jessica and Penny are gone, okay? Until your mother can walk again, we will have to take care of her.
I promise, Daddy, I will do my best. Helen, you are the most adorable little girl. I hope someday I have a girl of my own that is just like you. Thank you. I loved playing with you. I see why James loves you.
Now I certainly have something to look forward to when I return home this summer. Jessica, I consider you and Lucy, as well as my sister and Carrie, to be my role models. I want my relationship with Penny to be just as good as the ones you all have with each other.
Thank you. I am honored. Penny, we need to talk about something serious.
What is it?
Have you told James yet about you hooking up with Whitney Owen in his absence?
No. I never thought to mention it. Why?
And how do you think he would react if he found out about it? What if Whitney told him about your affair with her? Would he still want to marry you? It is not healthy in a relationship to keep secrets like that from your love partner. Because when the truth comes out, it always hurts more if it doesn't come from you directly.
Are you saying you never kept secrets from Lucy?
Absolutely not. Long before we got married, I told her all about my past relationships. The older man who raped me when I was 15. The woman named Barbara who beat me often after getting drunk. I make sure I came clean about my past so she would know what kind of woman I was and had been. And she accepted all of it. If James truly loves and accepts you as you really are, he won't reject you for being with Whitney. If he does, that's his loss. And you would be better off with a more tolerant and forgiving partner.
I will consider your opinion, Jessica. It's just that I have no intention of continuing the affair with Whitney after James and I are married. And we already agreed to keep it a secret from everyone else. So far, you are the only one besides me and Whitney that knows about it. And what James doesn't know won't hurt him.
Then you'd better hope that Whitney proves worthy of your trust in keeping your secret. As for me, I already promised not to spill the beans. I am not that sort of malicious person. I just wanted to warn you ahead of time in case the cat is let out of the bag. The consequences could be painful for all involved. What's so funny?
Just you using those metaphors. Cats. Beans. But yeah, I get what you were saying. James, I have something to tell you.
What is it?
You remember when you had sex with Whitney in the forest and I saw you two together? Well, after you left for Boston, I had an affair of my own. With Whitney herself. I was so lonely that I wanted to be with somebody. And I chose Whitney because she had also been with you. That's the only reason I did it. I am sorry if that news hurts you, but it's the truth.
Well, I'd be a massive hypocrite if I rejected you for doing something I myself did to you first, Penny. So I will overlook it. At least you didn't hook up with some other guy I don't know. And you won't, right?
Never. My time with Whitney was just a temporary fling. It's you and you alone I want to be with for the rest of my life. I swear.
Then I believe you. And I love you!
You were right, Jessica. It's always best to be honest. James has forgiven me.
So now you know your marriage to him will be on solid ground. I'm proud of you. Helen is so sweet. I almost envy that Penny got to play with her more than me, but those two got along wonderfully. I'm glad Penny went with me. She was so helpful. Good. I'm sorry I couldn't go with you,
but I had to deal with things at the Tuscany Tavern. Of course. Excuse me.
Jessica, are you still with Penny?
No, I dropped her off at her grandmother and uncle's home. I'm at my own home now.
Good, then we can talk freely.
Is there a problem I should know about?
First, I am curious. Were you the one who talked Penny into telling me about the affair with Whitney Owen?
Yes, I was.
I thought so. Thank you for doing that. And for the record, I don't mind her sleeping with Whitney at all. What good for the gander is good for the goose, I suppose.
That's an unusual attitude for a young man to have.
Well, I was raised by a feminist mother, so sexist double standards just don't occur to me. Did Penny tell you anything else about her time with me?
No, she didn't say much. Why?
I think she came up here because she wanted to make a baby with me immediately, but I shot that idea down. I've seen enough of my sister taking care of Richard to know that caring for a baby is no cakewalk. Penny is not ready for that yet.
I'm glad you recognize that. Penny clearly has issues that having a child would only make more complicated. She needs to be more comfortable with herself before she gives up so much of her time and energy to a baby.
Anyway, that is all. Have a good day.
So, want to go to the bedroom for some S&M?
So he gets to use the whip.
I think you've earned it.
Note: this is the last miniseries of the Debbie and Carrie Show to feature the original character models for Sandy Smith, Lucy Sims, Jessica Sims and Carla Jenkins. They will all be replaced with new custom models.